Welcome, my friend, to Next Level Change Success. I'm Therese, a change strategist and practitioner with over 20 years of experience designing and delivering impactful change programs across various industries. In this podcast, I share real-world practical strategies to help you create and deliver positive change experiences, whether you're a leader, practitioner, or someone looking to bring new ways of working to life. In today's fast-paced world, change is constant. Here we focus on how you can put people at the centre of your change strategy, because people with a sense of purpose are the most important link in driving performance. So if you're ready to create meaningful change and achieve all the success that comes with it, keep listening. Together, let's change the conversation and take it to the next level. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Next Level Change Success. My name is Therese, and I'm the founder of myvirtualchangemanager.com. I'd like to acknowledge that I'm recording on Tharrawal country and pay my respects to the traditional owners and custodians on the land on which I am recording, and to elders both past, present and emerging. Today I want to talk about, it's a very odd, a little bit of a quirky conversation today. It's a little bit about lost legends. We have had some, I feel, extremely impactful losses when it comes to high-profile individuals in the last couple of weeks. First person is Robert Redford, and what struck me about Robert Redford was all of the stories that came after his passing around who he was as a person, the warmth, the generosity, the time he spent with people, the way in which he was a screen enigma and yet such a warm human being and good person. And that struck me a bit because obviously I knew the Hollywood enigma and had seen him in many movies, but the stories that came out after were so moving around how great an individual he was. The next was Jane Goodall, and for those who don't necessarily know Jane, she was an amazing woman who studied chimpanzees and went and studied them in her 20s and was well known for her findings around the fact that the chimps would use tools and use them like humans. So very much around the relationship and how close they were to and are to us. And she was very big in the environmental space, and also someone who was just living their purpose in igniting, in creating a movement, the Roots and Shoots organisation that she created about the next generations, ensuring that the planet is taken care of and that we're more conscious about what we consume, the impacts of our consumption on the planet. And she was profound. I remember watching on the Discovery Channel a documentary about her, and I was just blown away by this woman who went into the wilds of Africa, studied chimpanzees with her mum, took her mum because she needed a chaperone in those days. Like the challenges that she overcame from a gender perspective, to be out there with her mother, who was also seemed quite a remarkable woman and who supported her daughter, to go and do the study, and then really to devote her whole life and using her platform and anything that she could, which reminds me a little bit like Steve Irwin, if you're familiar with Steve. And I remember in an interview, he said he was going to use his money to buy any of the land and the ecosystems that he could so that they're preserved, because he knew the importance of the environment and of the ecosystems and how fragile they were. And that consumerism and corporate greed, I guess, in a lot of ways, and capitalism, all of these rainforests were just getting deforested. And so very on purpose, as was Jane, Dr. Jane Goodall. And she used her platform to inspire the next generations. She also had a quote that I think is very change related. And she said, "You cannot get through a single day without having an impact on the world around you. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make." And it's so profound because she would talk about sometimes we get overwhelmed with the bigger picture and forget that what we can do is what's in front of us every day that can either make a positive impact or a negative one. And if you think about even in change management, change leadership, even within organizations, it's so true. We do impact assessments, for example, on the change that you're bringing in, because we know that there will be positive and potentially negative impacts for teams, for individuals, in relation to certain types of change and how we can move people through it to get to the outcomes that we're after. And so if you think about her passion, her approach was very much around inspiring that next generation to know that their circle of control and where their impact is the most, that the sum of all of the small little things that we do from day to day will eventually result in a bigger wave of change. I mean, I found that to be very profound. And when she passed, it seemed like we'd lost someone extremely significant. And it's true. And then most recently, Diane Keaton. And the reason why I talk about Diane Keaton is because if you want to think about uniqueness in every individual, then Diane was the epitome of that. So her, what seemed to be flightiness in interviews, and yet she was so different and had so many different aspects to herself, not just a movie icon, style icon, but she also loved architecture. She also loved art. I think she loved the human condition as well and exploring that. And she was a mother. She was an artist, and she was a beam of light, I think, and certainly made me laugh when seeing some of the interviews that she did. And just her flightiness, what I perceive to be flightiness, right? So it's a descriptive word I'm using. But then seeing her in movies, you could see how much of a superb actress she was because she had all these different facets, and it was quite fascinating. And I thought about how she broke the mold. Like, she was so unique. And that, to me, is an amazing thing around diversity, around the diverseness of individuals in business, in life, and how the joy that people can bring because they are unique. And if we celebrated that more, and she always talked about how lucky she was, yet she obviously had profound talent, but how lucky she was in her career and life, yet there was something about her. And I think that's the thing. And you might be experiencing this in your organization where there's someone who just has something about them, where they're different, they're unique. And if you can get them in the right role, they're going to flourish. If you don't, then they're going to seem troublesome. And so it's really important around individuality that people are placed in the right areas to thrive. And certainly with Diane, she was placed in the right area when it came to acting, but then also obviously she had love of art and architecture, and she contributed in that way as well. She loved animals, so she had a kindness and an empathy that we need more of in this world. So these 3 significant passings, which for some reason had impact on me, and reflection, had me reflect about what these individuals displayed, their passion. And of course, they had privilege, without doubt, but it's just around there might be someone in your sphere or someone who in their passing has had a particularly significant impact on you. Maybe someone not directly involved with you, but someone you knew of. And that it has you sit back and reflect about the impact you're having heading into your workplace and the impact you're having when you're leading your team or introducing change or working on a project or program where someone's unsettled and they're verbalizing that, and whether you listen to that or do you just dismiss them. These are the impacts that you can have. And so think about that today as you head to work and as you go and interact with those around you, around the energy that you're taking in, and what can these people who have had huge impact in the world, so much so that a person sitting in Sydney, Australia, felt sad at their passing and a little bit unsettled that the world was losing such champions for the environment, for people, for animals, for compassion, for each other. And what you might want to consider having a positive impact around in your sphere of control today, when you clock on, when you swipe your pass to go into your workplace and work with others. That's all I want to say today. It's a bit of a tribute to these icons, the people who left such a profound legacy, and where there was a ripple in the world that, if anything, we can reflect upon. And if you need to course correct a little bit around aligning to things that light you up, and that you might have fearless self-expression to live your purpose today. Hope you have a wonderful day. Come to myvirtualchangemanager.com. We've got frameworks, but we also talk about who you're being in the world of change, because we too want to create ripples through this world when it comes to organizations, teams, and the possibility of change being positive and respectful when it comes to workplaces and cultures. Have a great day, and just remember that change matters because you, your organization, and your people matter.